Greetings, everyone. How are you all doing on this moody Monday?
Doing good, man. Ready for March Madness to commence.
The sun is still shining, though. Just not around here.
Can you hear me, Tony?
Yeah, we can hear you, Commissioner Felton.
Okay.
I just looked out my window like, I know it's raining.
He didn't respond to my comment about March Madness, so I thought either he's sick or he didn't hear me.
What was that?
I said you didn't respond to my comment about March Madness, so I thought you're either sick or you didn't hear me, because I know you're ready to face the Florida State Seminoles.
No, my speaker was turned down. What did you say?
Are you ready to face the Florida State Seminoles?
Man, I got them boys going to the Sweet 16.
Well, maybe they'll run into Alabama eventually, because I believe they're going all the way.
Well, they're in the same bracket. They're in the same bracket with Bama.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, LSU is also. So I think our road will end with LSU. And I hate to say this, it's going to be hard for Alabama to beat LSU 3 times.
4 times. Or they just beat them a third. And it was hard.
Hey, Kenny, I'm glad to see that you're on. I know you got that invite at the last minute right there, but we're good.
Great. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I see that we have at least 3 of our commissioners on the line here. I know Commissioner Willie says she would not be able to make it. Has anybody got any updates from Commissioner Sullivan? Okay. Well, I have 12 o'clock. We've got a quorum anyway, and hopefully Commissioner Sullivan will be getting on here shortly. But hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to get started. I know time is of the essence. And so with that being said, let's do a quick roll call so we can have an accurate account as who's here. Commissioner Bolte?
I'm here.
All right. Commissioner Fountain?
Present.
And of course, Commissioner Willie and Commissioner Sullivan aren't with us yet. Commissioner Sullivan comes on here shortly. We'll make sure he gets counted. All right. We have the minutes from last board meeting that were disseminated. Thank you so much for getting that information out to the commissioners. Anybody have any modifications or amendments that you want to put forth for the meeting? For the meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none, we're going to put the minutes up for approval. I'm willing to entertain a motion. Commissioner Hall has given me the sign, the universal sign for a motion. And
I'll second.
Commissioner Fountain second. Great. Any further discussions between the 3 of us? Hearing none, the motion for the minutes pass. And those will be recorded. Thank you again for putting those together as well. We'll move now at this point to any new business. And Director McGinnis, I'd like to hand the floor over to you.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. We're going to dive right in. First of all, thanks and welcome everybody to our March board meeting. Wow, March is already here. But we definitely appreciate everybody being here. We're going to go ahead and get started with financial services. Teresa, we'll turn it right over to you with the financial report.
All righty, I guess my camera isn't working. So anyway, you'll just get to hear my voice and not my face, see my face today. The first item I have is to ask the board to act on a resolution approving budget revision number 3 for the fiscal year end March 31st, 2021. HERB requires the Board of Commissioners to approve the project-based low-rent public housing operation budget. We are revising the original budget to more accurately align actual and projected costs to budget amounts. The purpose of this request is to obtain approval for the fiscal year 3/31/21 revision number 3. This revised budget reflects a net income of $338,543 compared to a net increase of $151,328 in the budget revision 2. Moving forward with the explanations, the total revenue has adjustments of other tenant charges being reduced by $13,035 and operating subsidy being reduced by $163,700. All of our subsidy has been received as of March 1st, 2021. Also moving forward to administration, those items were lowered by $48,500 with actual audit fees being received, and that was reduced because HCV was a major program. Also, advertising and marketing were reduced by $10,000 due to finding lower cost advertising. And legal fees have also been reduced by $30,000 because of the moratorium of evictions residents through March 31st, 2021. We did not have as many legal dollars utilized in this fiscal period. Moving forward to the second page of the financials, which is page number 17, relocation has also been reduced by $26,616. The Butler Terrace residents that will be relocated will be paid for out of capital fund. And we also have some Northwest residents due to ceiling repairs that will also be relocating, and that expense should come in right as expected for budget. Also in total utilities, this amount was increased by $14,000 due to an increase in the gas in the month of January. So we estimate a little bit higher for February and March. Also moving down the page to total maintenance, that amount has been reduced by $248,299. We do not expect to have to spend $1.2 million in materials. Protective services contract cost was reduced by $43,000 due to having January actuals and estimating February and March. Moving forward to page 18, also reducing collection loss by $79,293. We don't expect for that loss to come in at $179, and we also have $50,000 in collections that we have over the fiscal period as of today from MIS collections and also tenants paying their balance. So overall total expenses in this budget have been reduced by $421,708. And if we come to our bottom line here, at the bottom, we are increasing our net position by $187,215. I'm asking you to approve budget revision number 3, which is board resolution number 2021-14.
All right, so thank you so much for that, Teresa. I want to acknowledge Commissioner Sullivan, who has joined us at least via phone. Commissioner Sullivan, are you here?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, let the record reflect that Commissioner Sullivan is joining us. And I also want to mention this before we get into action on this motion, that the commissioners had an opportunity to meet last week just to hear about the pending resolutions coming down the pike. So if you don't see a lot of discussion going on, it's not because we have apathy or we're not all that interested in going through the details of these resolutions. It's probably on the contrary. We've dug pretty deep into some of these issues and had opportunities to ask questions. But we did not take any action during that time. We just asked questions and got great answers from the team here. So with that being said, there's a resolution that's been presented for our authorizing quarterly. This is 2021-15, correct, Teresa, for the charge off?
2021-14.
14, okay, I'm ahead. 2021-14, and this is the resolution that is entitled, go to where that document is. What's the title of that document, Teresa? Help me out here.
A resolution approving budget revision number 3. Fiscal year end 3/31/2020.
Budget revision number 3, resolution 2021-14. Anyone want to entertain a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Okay,
And
Commissioner
I'll
Fountain.
second.
Commissioner Sullivan, second. Any further questions or comments in reference to this motion, this resolution? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving resolution 2021-14, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
My next
Teresa,
resolution
before you-
is,
I just wanted to let you
Yes,
know
sir.
your camera was working. Your camera's working now. I just
Oh.
wanted you to know that.
thank you.
He wanted to let you know, just in case you were assuming it wasn't working. We didn't want to be having to do anything on
Like,
that.
oh, all right. My next item is to ask you to act on resolution number 2021-15. And this is a resolution asking for the board to authorize quarterly charge-offs for the period ending March 31st, 2021. The Housing Authority has on its books $28,250.25 owed by former residents who have vacated December 1st through March 31st, 2021. The purpose of this is to request to obtain approval for these write-offs. This action is necessary to remove uncollectible amounts on our books. The economic impact of this expense is $28,250.25. However, this amount is subject to partial recovery through the collection process. The charge-off breakdown is as follows: rent, $19,870, maintenance charges, $3,715.25, court costs, $1,292, late charges, $1,224, retroactive rent, $2,003, and bulk cable, $146. The quarterly charge-off consists of 40 accounts, and this is resolution number 2021-15. I would also like to state if there are any other amounts that we deem to be written off before April 1st, they will be added to this amount that we are writing off. And thank you. That's all on that one.
All right. You've heard the presentation of resolution number 2021-15, authorizing quarterly charge-offs for period ending March the 31st, 2021. Any motions?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Am I reading it wrong? In the first, it says March 31st, 2020. Do we need to, is that just a typo, or am I reading that wrong? I think it's on.
What page do you see that on?
That's a good question. 24, maybe?
I think it's on the resolution, Teresa.
Yes,
Oh,
the
okay.
resolution itself. So that may just be.
Yes, that should be changed. I'm sorry. Yes,
That's
that needs
okay.
to say 2021.
Yeah, I just want to keep it official here. So
Yeah.
other than that, I'll go ahead and make the motion if there are no other questions.
Okay. We have a motion for the resolution 2021-15 with that minor modification for the date for 2021 on the actual document. Any second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Fountain seconded. Any further discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution 2021-15, authorizing quarterly charge-offs for the period ending March 31st, 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the resolution and the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. My third item is the presentation of cumulative low-income housing finance report for the period ended January 31st, 2021. All of the line items basically fell within the 10% explanation of the variance, with the exception to other income, which is at 96.28. And as I've said in the past, that has to do with the developer fee that we received earlier in the year. And I did not complete a line item revision on that number in completing the revision. So overall, our total revenue is at 84.27%. If you move forward to page 27 of the financials, it brings you to our net increase as of January 31st to be $1,034,388 in compared to a net increase of $338,543. So overall, our expenses and revenues are on target to hopefully the net income will be higher than the budgeted amount. That is hopefully the hope. But if you have any questions on a particular line item, I can address that for you if you like. Okay.
No
Yes, we
question
don't
on
have
line items. Just want to say we appreciate just the way that you handle the finances, Teresa. They really do.
Oh, thank
I've been talking to a colleague of mine who's on another board, and they're so upset because they can't get good financials, and their numbers are changing all the time. And I was thinking about you and just how well you deliver the financials to keep things on point. So just want to say we appreciate it a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. I appreciate that. I love what I do. I love accounting. That's my passion. I love it.
Good, good.
All right.
That's the only compliment I'm giving today. So, by the way, you got it.
Okay. All righty. Moving forward to my fourth and final item is the presentation of the CARES Act funding as of January 31st, 2021. And I just want to say overall that we have the balance of 183,991 is available for us to utilize with our third-party vendors that are going to help our children. That's the reason why that money is really sitting there. But as you can tell, in total administration and also in total maintenance, that those line items were reduced. And what I did was I reclassified those items out of the CARES Act funding back to our operating expenses so that we would have these funds available for our children. So overall, that's where we stand. Of course, I expect to have all of these funds drawn down by the end of May. And that part of our funding will be complete with HUD. So that's my presentation as of January 31st. And I am so honored that I'm the one to get the compliment today. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Is there going to be a report that's due to HUD at the end of this period other than just a financial report, or we're going to have to report on anything else to HUD? Tony?
Yes, well, HUD is forthcoming. They have promised us a portal to be able to report our numbers in. It was supposed to be October, then it got moved to April. So yes, we will have a final report that we have to present, and I can also present that report to you once it's completed. So yes, sir, we will have to do that. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Appreciate it. At this time, we would have Keisha present.
Good afternoon. I have 3 items for the board this month. The first, I'm requesting the board to act on a resolution authorizing the executive director to enter into a contract with M.F. Morgan and Associates Incorporated for Mahogany Row repairs. The Huntsville Housing Authority sought bids for repairs to Mahogany Row. 12 of our units there have experienced water intrusion over time, which require repair. An invitation for bids was issued on January 4th of 2021, and the final submission date was February 24th of 2021. The purpose of this action is to repair those units to a habitable condition so that we can lease them out to our families. Due to water damage over time, these units need to be repaired. We received 2 bids, and M.F. Morgan and Associates Incorporated was deemed the apparent low bidder, and their price was $400,000. I have given this a not to exceed of $405,000 just in case something small comes up, so we don't have to come back to you all for something small. And this will be paid from our capital funds. I've included the 2 prices of the 2 bidders in your board documents. Are there any questions about this resolution, which is 2021-16?
Keisha, thanks. Just for the record, can you explain why there's only 2 quotes submitted and why there's such a big difference between the 2 prices?
Sure. So I can go through and tell you everything that was done by our procurement officer, and then I will let Mike give you the answer to the question about the large difference in the two prices. So our procurement officer, as I stated, opened this up January 4th, and the bids were initially due February 3rd. She issued 2 addendums to extend the submission deadline in hopes that she would receive some additional responses, which made the final submission date February 24th. She advertised this solicitation in 5 publications, once per week for 2 consecutive weeks. These publications were Huntsville Times, AL.com, Birmingham News, Decatur Daily, and Speaking Out News. She also sent notice to the North Alabama African American Chamber of Commerce. She's also listed the procurement on the Housing Agency Marketplace, which is an online site for vendors, which has 1,004 potential proposers. She also emailed the solicitation to her internal vendor list, which contains 121 potential vendors. And as a result of those efforts, we were only able to receive the 2 responses. And now I'll let Mike respond to that second part of your question, Commissioner Bolte.
The difference between the 2 bids is hard to understand, but the higher bidder indicated to the architect that he used a commercial model rather than a residential model to do his takeoff. And even with that, I've got to believe he padded that. He gave no other explanation to that, and I haven't had a conversation with the owner either. So that was the explanation we got. I just don't think he really wanted the job. If he got it, fine. If he didn't, that was fine too. But using the commercial model will drive those prices up considerably, but I don't know that it would have made that much difference. We did do due diligence with the low bidder, had him check all of his takeoff, all of his numbers, make sure that he was comfortable with his bid, and he had to give us a signed affidavit that he was comfortable with it and wants to move forward.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it's a huge difference. So I just wanted to go on record to say you guys have kind of done your due diligence and checked it out. So thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome. Any other questions about 2021-16?
Keisha, when you send that list of potential advertisements out for this, is the Alabama A&M Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Services on that list, to your knowledge, DB supportive services?
Teresa, do you know if they're included in our list? If Teresa doesn't know, I can ask Tracy, our procurement officer, and let you know.
Or if it's not, I would just encourage that to be just another potential source. So the DB supportive services, they work with the Alabama state certified minority-based companies and disadvantaged-based businesses, and it's heavily geared towards construction, right? And so it could be an opportunity to do that. I know we continually want to see some of this work have the opportunity to be bidded on and secured and implemented by minority-based businesses, particularly in our community. Just could be another resource. All right.
Can you give me the name of that entity again?
Absolutely. It's called DBE, Supportive Services, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Supportive Services. Okay. Yeah, the director for that is, I'll email you the director for that.
Okay, great. I'll get the information to Tracy.
Okay, great. All right, if no other questions, willing to entertain a motion for Resolution 2021-16, authorizing the executive director to enter into a contract with MF Morgan and Associates for mahogany row repairs.
I motion for approval.
Commissioner Sullivan motioned. You second?
Second.
Commissioner Fountain second. And by the way, the commissioners have seen pictures of this damage as well too. I mean, this is a substantial amount, regardless of the fact that we have two significantly different bids still. 400,000, 405,000 is a significant amount. We have seen pictures of the damage to be able to feel comfortable with that level of spend to correct the issues that are at hand there. So we have a motion and a second. If there's no other discussions or questions, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of Resolution 2021-16, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, ayes have it. The motion passes. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you for recommending we look at those pictures because it was very telling, the level of significant damage that has occurred. So good idea.
Yeah, thank you. First time
Okay.
Mr. Bolte has ever complimented me, so I'm going to take that one in. Says, thank you, appreciate
Only
it.
one.
Well, I guess the
one a day.
compliments are just flying today.
That's it. I got it. Yay. All right. Sorry. Lisa, go ahead.
The second item that I have is requesting the board to act on a resolution authorizing the executive director to execute a sale and purchase agreement with FHH LLC for the purchase of our Pollard Circle property. The board initially approved this agreement back on October 8th of 2020. Subsequent to the execution of the agreement, FHH requested an extension of their due diligence period and canceled the previous agreement to accomplish this. And so the purpose of this action is to execute basically the same agreement, but this agreement reflects that the due diligence period will be extended from the initial date of February 28th, 2021 to May 31st, 2021. The closing date will remain July 31st of 2021. FHH has requested this extension as their receipt of an environmental report indicates that additional testing is necessary. And they also stated that COVID has slowed their due diligence efforts also. The offer to purchase the property remains $3,250,000. $3 million of this purchase price represents $3 million of that amount represents the purchase price, and the remaining $250,000 will be earmarked for use by HHA for our Envision Center located at 2900 Fairbanks Street. I have included the real estate purchase and sale agreement in full with your board documents, and this item is action number 2021 goodness. Sorry, takes me a long time to get back to this one. A 2021-17. Are there any questions about this item?
Okay, you've heard Keisha present a resolution 2021-17 for authorizing executive director to execute a sale and purchase agreement for FHH LLC with them for the purchase of the Pollard Circle property. Anyone want to make a motion? Hearing none.
I will move to approve 2021-17.
All right, we have a motion. Any second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Sullivan, second. Any further discussions for Keisha on this particular resolution? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, my final item is to request the board to act on a resolution authorizing closing of funding for Stone Ridge Villas Phase 2. The Huntsville Housing Authority issued a request for qualifications for a developer for the purpose of redeveloping our Sparkman Homes site. This was done through solicitation RFQ 2015-3. The proposal submitted by Penrose Block was selected and approved by the board on August 17, 2015. And we have completed phase 1 of Stone Ridge Villas. And in February of 2020, Penrose, along with HHA, applied for a second round of 9% low-income housing tax credits from AHFA, and that application was successful, and a commitment agreement form was received. We have submitted information to HUD under the mixed finance program requesting their approval of this deal as well. And so we are still awaiting some of those approvals, but we think that they will come through before our next meeting. So that's why I'm presenting this to you all today, so that once we do receive those approvals, we'll be ready to move forward with closing. This resolution will approve the documents for acquisition and financing of a 65 unit elderly and near elderly project located at 1700 Balch Road in Madison. Over the years, HHA must continue to dispose of housing units operated under our programs due to different reasons, such as deterioration, neighborhood changes, and environmental concerns. However, the need for affordable housing has not declined with the loss of those units, so we will continue to actively seek to add new units, and this is the result of that commitment. We will make a loan of approximately $500,000 in public housing capital funds to this deal, and this loan will have a second lien mortgage interest in the project. And I have included the resolution. The resolution was drafted by our legal counsel out of Washington, D.C., Reno, and Kavanaugh, but I've also been including Ashley and our local counsel in the review of all this documentation as well. Are there any questions about Resolution 2021-18, which is a resolution authorizing the closing of funding for Stone Ridge Villas Phase 2?
Yeah, quick question. It's maybe minor, Keisha, but why do we say approximately versus, being a very specific amount?
Well, the reason why council left approximately in there is because they're still finalizing all of the numbers. So there may be a small change in that amount, but it will not exceed $500,000.
Okay.
It may not be exactly $500,000, but it probably will be. But just to protect this resolution and the integrity of it, council put in approximately.
Okay, all right. So there's like some calculation that's taking place to know kind of what that dollar amount is?
Yes. So they're finalizing all of the costs associated with the development and finalizing all of the funding sources. And then once they do that, these numbers will be finalized as well.
What deviates past a certain dollar amount that would have it to where you guys would be wanting to kind of come back and have a discussion? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot there, but.
No, that's okay. So anything over $500,000, we would definitely have to come back to the board for, because when we initially made the commitment to this project, all the board approved was for us to commit $500,000. And that commitment was made when we submitted the tax credit application, because we had to do a letter confirming that HHA would commit that dollar amount to the project if awarded.
So it could be something that's more like up to 500,000. Okay, again,
it could be.
You're
right. It could be up to.
Up to 500,000 kind of tightens it up a little bit more at that point in time. So,
and I think the actual
draft that makes it clear that it won't go above.
Yeah, I think the draft promissory note we reviewed actually says up to 500,000. So the costs that this covers are only pre-construction costs, and so those are going to be a finite number, and they'll know that early in the process. And like I say, I believe the actual paperwork, as opposed to the resolution that Reno and Kavanaugh prepared, uses the terminology up to 500,000 rather than approximately. So probably would have been better for the resolution as well, but I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I'll leave it up to the other commissioners in terms of your feelings about whether you're okay with just going with the resolution as written for the approximate, or would you prefer to change it up to the up to? It's up to the commissioners.
I don't have a problem with the approximate.
Okay. Commissioner Bolte?
Yeah, I would change it to up to 500,000. It does tighten it, like you said. And, if we spend 575 Is that approximately 500,000? You know, you shouldn't use approximate, honestly, for these legal kind of documents.
In Jim's world, that still falls underneath approximately. In my world, that's not approximately. Okay, all right. So, Commissioner Fallon, what are your thoughts on that?
I'll concur with Jim and say to a maximum of or up to.
Okay. All right. So if that's not a huge change to make, let's see if we can just go ahead and tweak the wording on that one, but we can still move forward with the resolution. So it's been presented, Resolution 2021-18, authorizing the closing of funding for Stone Ridge Villa Phase 2 with the change for the language to say up to $500,000 for the funding. Anyone want to present a motion?
A motion for approval.
All right, Commissioner Sullivan motions.
Second.
Commissioner Fountain second. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all those in favor of Resolution 2021-18 say aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay. Hearing none, the resolution passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keisha. We appreciate your report. Teresa, thanks again. We don't have any other reports today. I have a few comments, and then I do have a presentation that I would like to invite Mr. Kenny Anderson to present. Just real quickly, a couple of highlights. Last Saturday, I had the opportunity to going out to Northwood and meet with the Church of Highlands and just a host of volunteers out in the Northwood community. One of the things that they were doing, they were actually fixing cars in the parking lot of the Boys and Girls Club. It was probably about 50 volunteers. The residents from the community came out. They were able to get their car diagnosed, just minor repairs done to their vehicles. And that's something that apparently that they do from time to time. So what I've asked Church of Highlands, especially Joe McKenzie, is when they have events like that, to really give us a heads up so that we'll know, so that we can share that information with you all. So if you are available to go out and check out what they're doing, you'll be able to see some of the things that they're doing in the Northwood community. Also, every Monday night, they're feeding, I think Joe told me, roughly up to 1,000 meals in the Northwood community. And so that's just something that they're doing for the Northwood and Love Sub community. And I think, once again, if you get an opportunity to go out on a Monday night to check out what's going on in that community, it would be great. And then we're still working to partner with the city to make that our Envision Center home. We're actually in the process of working with Drake State and the Boys and Girls Club Village of Promise right now to really go ahead and start moving in the right direction so that we will have some programs over in the Northwood community, in addition to what they already have going on over there right now. On March the 25th, that's next Thursday, Drake State is going to have 2 job fairs, one at 10:30, one at 5:30. They're going to highlight some of the programs that they're going to be bringing to the Northwood community. So if you have an opportunity to come out and visit with us, we'll be having that event next Thursday, 10:30, 5:30 at the Calvary Hill Center. And they'll be highlighting all the programs that they want to bring into the community. Also on March the 20th, we are going to have our second food distribution with the help of the Birmingham Urban League. They're going to be bringing food into the communities. They're also going to be serving food or giving out boxes at Alabama A&M. So that's been a great partnership. One of the ways for us to lock arms with Alabama A&M and the Birmingham Urban League. So we have a host of volunteers that'll be coming out to help us spread some love to the community by giving out food boxes. So that's going to be on March the 20th. I also want to circle back to a conversation we had last Tuesday about vaccines for our residents. On tomorrow and Wednesday, I've actually Huntsville Hospital contacted me on Friday, and they told us that they had vaccines available for our residents on tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we had a host of volunteers go out on yesterday, signing our residents up. We have we have volunteers out in the community right now at the two towers trying to sign up as many volunteers as they can. We only got 150 vaccines for this go around, but I do believe if everything goes well, we'll be able to get more vaccines. And also, we're going to be partnering with a local church right here on Church Street. I can't think of the name again, but anybody that wants to get a vaccine on the day that they're opening up their service project, our residents will be able to go and receive a vaccine on that date as well. And so we'll be able to get that information out to the community. So we are moving forward with the vaccines. They're actually coming out to our spots. They're coming out to Todd tomorrow and Johnson Towers on Wednesday. Our residents have to pre-register. This is the shot. I'm not sure which company they're using, but it is a 2-shot vaccine. So they're going to give the shots and then they'll come back and give the second shot as well on site. So we're excited about that. Hopefully, right now we don't have all the vaccines taken care of, but once again, with the volunteers and the property managers working on that, I'm sure that we'll get the 150 taken care of. So once again, we're excited about that. And then I wanted to turn it over to Mr. Kenny Anderson, who's leading our effort with the strategic planning. We sent out surveys on I think it was the 4th of March. And if you hadn't had a chance to fill out your survey as of yet, please do that because we want to get 100% participation. And we sent out 48. I think we've gotten back about 20 right now. And, that's a very small number. And we really want to start the ball rolling so that we would get all the input that we need to get from all the stakeholders in the community. We have about 15 applications or surveys that we're going to have to hand deliver to our residents, but we have that taken care of as well with our resident service coordinator. So I don't want to steal any more of his thunder, and I'm sure he has a lot to share with us. So I'll turn it over to Kenny and he'll be able to kind of inform us on where we are and the plan moving forward.
You're reading my mind. I was like, he's stealing all of my thunder. Tony had the privilege of seeing the portion of the presentation earlier because I had a chance to speak to the executive staff during their team meeting at 9 o'clock this morning, which was a very productive conversation and got a chance to lay out the scope and the vision of this process. First of all, let me say good afternoon to everyone. That is, at least those that are on camera that I can see. Some of you I have not seen since we last got together at Drake State in the fall of last year. And of course, the pandemic still rages, so we're still in these virtual spaces, but I think productive nonetheless. And I think that's a blessing indeed. It looks like everybody's doing well, and I'm happy for that. I'm also happy to be here, and I'm only going to take a few moments today because I won't give you the whole presentation, but I wanted to give you a snapshot of where we are right now so that you can kind of have a sense of where this process is, where this process is going, and then also entertain any questions that you might have. So if I can have screen sharing privileges at this time, I would like to take over the screen, and I have a short PowerPoint presentation to make. Yeah, just make me a host or co-host, and I'll be able to, wherever my name is in the participant spot, I should be able to be made a host or co-host, and then I'll be able to take over the screen. And I promise to give it back as soon as I'm finished. Awesome. I am now the host. And yes, that gives me the opportunity to do what I am about to do right now. Beautiful. All right, terrific. All right. So earlier this year, you will recall that there was a bid for a consultant to do the strategic plan for Huntsville Housing Authority. And I put in a bid with my nonprofit, which is Leadership Empowerment Enterprise. For those that don't know what Leadership Empowerment Enterprise is, it's a small nonprofit that basically focuses on three things: leadership and business development, which is a part of what we're doing here. Also, adult and professional mentoring. I have an open application process every November for lifetime mentorship. And then philanthropy to 2 academic scholarships that I have housed right now at Calhoun Community College and also at Oakwood University, with a goal to endow a 3rd scholarship at A&M within the next 3 years. So we're moving forward in this particular space, continuing to work with a variety of community initiatives and projects. And that is what brings me to this place today. Prior to the start of this process, I had conversations with several people who had an interest in this process, and I appreciated that because it gave me some good perspective on where we were going to be going in this process. And I wanted to share a little bit right now about the timeline. This is not the whole timeline, but I want to show you some key spots on the timeline. I want to mention a few things about the survey to add to what Tony has already said. And then again, as I said, I want to talk a little bit about where we are in this very moment as it relates to the process. So at the earlier part of this month, actually the first day of this month, the executive team met with their staff, or at least they began to identify people within their departments who will work on subcommittees in order to be able to do a specific assignment that we have in this process. A few days later, the survey went out for the first time on March the 4th. I initially closed that survey on March the 8th. I was trying to create a sense of urgency as it related to completing it. And I had some success with that. And we're still anticipating even greater success as we move forward in the process. So for those that are on the feed today who have completed the survey, thank you so much for doing that. The survey has been reopened for a couple of reasons that I'll talk about in just a few moments. On March the 8th, the executive team submitted names of team leads for those and team subcommittees, members for the subcommittees, to be able to work on a specific project that we will be assigning, that we assigned earlier today, in fact. On March the 10th, we had the first of a series of bi-monthly meetings. I told Tony and his administrative team that I wanted to touch base with them formally at least twice a month in a formal meeting to be able to keep them up to speed on what's going on, to be able to share the progress of the strategic planning, and also to be able to identify any issues, problems, or gaps that might exist in whatever is going on at that time. And just to keep the communication channel open, I think is extremely valuable and extremely important. We are now in the stage where I've got those first few survey responses. I am developing a schedule to actually do face-to-face interviews with each person who has completed a survey. I want to drill down a little bit deeper from the surface information that I received initially in order to be able to continue to compile data and assess people's perceptions, people's views, and also embrace people's ideas. Today, I am participating in a board meeting as my commitment to this strategic planning process to come on a monthly basis and provide a report to the board to keep you all abreast of what's going on in the process, and once again to answer any questions that you might have. I mentioned the subcommittees a few moments ago, and we've tasked the subcommittees in each department of the Huntsville Housing Authority to identify 2 to 3 goals in their areas that they feel would be important for us to look at and consider as part of this strategic planning process. These are individuals who are in the trenches every day. They're on the ground. They're familiar with the work that's going on. And it will be extremely valuable for us in terms of transparency, inclusion, and the finalization of the plan to be able to include their voices in this process. And so they were tasked earlier today with coming up with those 2 to 3 goals by March the 29th, which is just 2 weeks from today. They've been given the opportunity to determine how they get to that finish line, but we did let them know that, again, there's a sense of urgency as far as that's concerned, because we want them to go ahead and meet and get it done. The scope of the time frame for the strategic plan extends well beyond the scope in which we hope to have this finalized. We did not want to sit and wait on this. We wanted to go ahead and act on it as quickly and expeditiously as possible. We wanted to do it with consistency and continuity, and we wanted to make sure that we had a target date in mind that we can deliver a product that would be available to all. Let me talk just a little bit about the survey and the survey status. So as Tony mentioned earlier, the survey has 15 questions. I was kind of in between 8 to 10, but I thought I'd ask a couple of more because some of them were basically the Likert scale process of, extremely poor, and that kind of thing. 48 invitations were sent out. I've gotten 20 responses back, just to kind of give you a context of how challenging that process has been personally as the one who's asking for this information. I had 19 as of last Wednesday. I got a second one between now and then. Another one since now and then. So we're up to 20. So the folk who have not completed the process have to complete the process. 39 of the surveys were opened. 7 were unopened or still unopened as of this morning as I checked. And so as recently as this morning, I sent out another reminder to those individuals saying, we need your documentation. The next step is probably going to be to just try to find some phone numbers for these individuals because I'm using email right now, and then make phone calls to people, because the goal here is this, folks. It's pretty simple, and Tony mentioned a few moments ago. 100% return on the survey. We don't want anything less than that. We only sent out 48, and we should get 48 surveys back. These individuals are employees, they're board members, they are stakeholders. They are not strangers to the Huntsville Housing Authority. They are allies. They are invested in the journey. And so these are individuals who we absolutely need to have their input from. And so the goal, the success goal, is 100%, and that's what we're pushing for. I wanted to share with you just a snapshot of responses just from 2 of the areas, just to kind of give you a sense of the kind of feedback that I'm getting right now from the surveys, and what will happen with the information that I will produce, an anonymous document that will have all of the responses in a document that can be reviewed, but then there'll be portions of that will be exposed to a deeper analysis in order to be able to actually extract some things that can help us move forward in the process. But just wanted to focus today on 2 areas in terms of the snapshot, and that's the question about strengths, top 3, and the question on weaknesses. These are the responses from about 8 individuals. The reason I'm saying that is because I took a sampling of 8 from the 20 that I had, and then I also combined some of the answers that were very similar. And because there are 8 people who I extracted these answers from, you can see that there is some similarity in the way people are thinking and the way they're responding, but there are also some divergences of opinions as well. So on top strengths, ownership of real estate assets, current leadership from the CEO, strong, capable board, providing affordable housing to low-income families, the self-sufficiency program. I was getting ahead of myself here. Hang on one second. Self-sufficiency program, resident services that provide services and programs for all, and sincere care and compassion for all residents. Those are general themes that were presented in 8 of the 20 documents that I've received. Weaknesses: lack of partnerships with major stakeholders, stigma of public housing, poor community relations, lack of visibility in the larger community, lack of funding for large, ambitious projects, management not caring about the community. Employees need to know there's room for upward mobility, and our agency stays externally focused and lacks the internal interest of its employees. This is just a snapshot, again, of 8 respondents. And of course, I I took those 8. I started out, I was moving through the process. I got to 8 and I said, there's a lot of similarity here. So let me combine these and offer this as a snapshot in our conversation today. But you will be able to see a final document that will have all of the answers listed and all of those responses from which we'll move forward. As I wrap it up, our next key steps are, as I said, as of today, we're beginning the scheduling for those Zoom meetings with the one-on-ones. Our executive team has been tasked with working along with those subcommittees to produce those 2 to 3 goals per department. We hope to have to this board a first draft or at least a report of the first draft on June the 15th. And then we're working to have a final draft of the strategic plan by July the 19th. So that's just and then of course there's some duplication. So timeline is much longer, but whatever was duplicated in terms of our internal meetings, I didn't add. But you kind of have a sense of the flow here. You have a sense of the endpoint and where we're headed in that process. And of course, if anybody, as I said earlier in the meeting, has a need to reach out to me for some reason by email, feel free to do so. By phone call, feel free to do so. I'm always available, always willing and ready and able to speak about anything related to this process, and I'm happy to do so. I shared earlier in the presentation that I made to the executive team and the subcommittees that I have a deep investment in this process for a lot of reasons. It's more than just business for me. I've been an ally of public housing ever since I was born. I was born in public housing. My parents lived in public housing for the first 21 years of my life on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. LaGuardia Houses was what I knew as home, and it was one of the best places that there was for me to grow up. I could not have thought of a better place and 2 better parents to come home to every day. Parents who worked very hard. My dad worked in a factory. My mom worked cleaning people's homes. But they found time for us every single day in order to make our lives exactly what, in my instance, has become a success. And so every success that I have in life, I attribute back to those early days when I would play on concrete streets and we didn't have gymnasiums and we didn't have all the comforts and other things that other communities might have had. But right then, those public housing communities was where I cut my teeth. And so as I've moved through my career as a mental health professional, assisting people, improving people's quality of life, that's the only mission I have in terms of my own legacy. That when I leave here, I want it to be known that Kenny Anderson invested every ounce of his time in making other people's lives better. And so that's my commitment to this process, which is why I am absolutely thrilled to be a part of this journey. And again, see myself as a part of this team, and will continue to be a voice and an ally for the work that you all are doing and that we're working on together in creating the strategic plan. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those questions at that time. And Tony will answer any questions I don't know because he already kicked things off in terms of the presentation.
Man, thanks, Kenny. I definitely appreciate it. Again, we just applaud the efforts, man. We wouldn't want to do this with anybody other than yourself. I've shared that on several occasions, and we appreciate all that you put into it. Any questions or anything anybody has to ask Kenny at this time?
And you may not have any questions now. It's still a little early in the process, but this thing is going to escalate. I'm laser focused on the work that has to be done. I'm laser focused on producing a quality product. I'm laser focused on the outcome measures that will come as a consequence of this strategic plan. And I believe that you all have the right team at the right time in order to take the Huntsville Housing Authority to another level. There are tremendous opportunities in our community right now, and there are tremendous opportunities that are emerging in many areas of this city, and they will continue to do so. Just this past Thursday, I've been sharing with lots of people that I made a presentation on the transition of my office to the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which is a huge task in itself. But I'm mindful every day of the necessity of not just acknowledging diversity from the perspective of race and ethnicity, but acknowledging the diversity from the standpoint of socioeconomic status, disability, faith, and so much more. So many ways in which we experience life. And of course, the work that we're in, the space that you all do, the work that you do, the incredible work that you do, is a quality of life issue for the people that you serve. And so it is vitally important that what we do here is representative of the work that needs to be done, and that there are sufficient opportunities to consider the possibilities created by this opportunity in this moment that we have, so that over the next 3 to 5 years, the Huntsville Housing Authority will be positioned to be an awesome and amazing asset to our community as it has been in the past.
Kenny, thank you for that work there. A quick question for you. How many sessions do you have built into your plan that would involve additional multi-member communication stakeholders getting together in a virtual room and having discussions? How many more of those sessions will we be thinking about?
There'll be one that will be scheduled. That's part of the timeline. But if there are additional ones that need to happen, that's fine. And the reason for that is because each person who's taken a survey will have been engaged twice prior to that. And then on the back end of this process, there will be a focus group type experience for the various groups of individuals. We've got the residents, we've got the employees, we've got the board. We've got it set up so that there will be opportunities on the back. When I say the back end of the process, not the last thing, but once we get those beginning things done and those foundations are laid, then we'll take that information, which will give me a better opportunity to actually engage those focus groups in terms of the information that has bubbled up. That won't be like we're trying to discover something now. We'll be basically focusing on here's what we are discovering. Let's have some conversations around that.
Gotcha. That helps. Thank you.
Kenny, thanks for your presentation. Sorry, Dick. I just want to encourage you to keep the timeline. Keep the timeline. I mean, we want to do a good job and do it right, but if there's some additional urgency that's needed from somebody else, let us know. We're kind of getting off, it feels like, to even a slow start because you don't even have, you get 50% of the, I don't think you have 50%, right, of the questionnaires back. So what's the new due date for the questionnaires? Maybe I missed that.
Yeah, well, it was initially March the 8th, and that's when we got 19. And we had the small executive team meeting. I asked Tony to send out an email. I gave him a list of those who had not sent them out. He sent an email out. I sent another reminder out. I've sent another reminder today to those that have not responded. And the one thing I did not say, Tony mentioned this, but I need to clarify this. It's probably not as bad as it looks or could look. And I don't think it's bad, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But 15 of those are people who are residents who don't have email addresses. Patrice Body is going to assist with that process. We have provided her with a link that will allow her to input information for those 15 people so that it goes directly into the survey and we can still compile that data. So technically we have about 35 responses that we can account for at this moment. And the other piece on that is because we got to schedule those one-on-ones, it kind of gives me time to ramp up that process and make sure it happens in a linear fashion so that when we get to the point that we're ready to start those focus groups, we'll have all of the one-on-ones taken care of at that time. So on day 15 of the process being begun, I'm optimistic, and we're absolutely going to keep the timeline. And that's why I said, me sending another email to somebody or making a phone call to somebody to say, I need your survey is not an annoyance for me. And it certainly might be for them, but that's inconsequential to me because we got to get the information. So, and again, with such a low number of people that we're reaching out to, but critical people, these are the people that we need that information from. We've got to have that information. And so 100% is what we're going to have. And we'll begin those one-on-ones. If you've completed your survey, you're going to get an email from me in the next probably 24 hours to be able to schedule that. So we'll be moving that process forward as we move the other processes forward as well.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Kenny, I may be missing something here, but I had envisioned more collectively the board meeting with the executive director and really addressing how the board wants to set the course for, we put in there in the survey the challenges and weaknesses and strengths, assets to that we can leverage off of. But is that not more inclusive than what I may be mad?
No, hang on one second. It's on the timeline. Hang on one second. I may have just included it in the regular, in the comment about just the monthly board meetings and then the regular executive team meetings. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Let me pull that up real quick. Yeah. So we have April 29th as a meeting with the board and executive team to discuss those goals. That timeline might get pushed up a little bit depending on how quickly we get it done, but that is on the timeline, Dick.
I'm sorry, I had muted myself. So April 29th or whenever that date falls as this thing rolls out, but will that just be like one meeting?
Well, we'll do what we need to do. Now, we don't want to have, I don't want to say, well, we'll have 2 meetings and that will take care of everything. We may need to have 3, but I think when we get to that point, we'll have enough information to know exactly what we need. So I wanted to at least put a place marker on the calendar to say this is an item that we're going to do. And if we need to do an additional one, we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay. You may be able to do it in like a half-day meeting like we had before when we did the team building meeting in the fall. But based on that meeting and kind of where it looked like we were headed, I thought there was, and sounds like you're addressing that, but there's going to be some pretty involved discussion where we really drill down on some strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Yeah, and in the interest of time too, something I foresee on that, Dick, is that when that meeting takes place, it won't be the first time that this group will have had a chance to think about those things. Okay. That we'll prep you in advance. We'll get those ideas flowing and have you write some things down and then be prepared as you come into this meeting, because by that time you'll have the survey answers. You'll kind of see, you'll have a bigger picture of what's going on to be able to really know what you're going to be responding to and what needs to be responded to at that time.
Right. I appreciate that. And I know you're on top of it. I just think there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to need to be working on as a board to prioritize and give some direction to our CEO and staff that these are the things that we really want to focus on.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And then I want to just add. Yeah, I was just going to add to that. We're going to have these one-on-ones as well, and that will help us get input from the board and the AHAC committee as well. So even though we're not going to be meeting as much as a group, we will still be doing individual meetings as well.
Yeah, and right. But yeah, and then, again, but let me also say, in establishing the timeline is a template, it's a schema. It's something that we needed to have in order to be able to begin moving forward in planning. We will make whatever adjustments we need to make. We'll add, we'll take away, we'll move up, we'll move back. But we want to make sure, again, that whatever we do, we do it in the time that we've allotted, which is that July timeframe, which is when we want to have that finished product. So, you know, got my eyes on everything, and you know, understanding, you know, the direction that we need to be moving in, and you know that that date, July the 19th, we'll be here before we know it. You know, we're already halfway through March. That's April, May, June. You know, school graduations are coming up again, and that whole cycle of life repeats itself. I mean, that date will come before we know it.
4 months.
You have 3 board meetings before that. I mean, it's just that close. You know, and so it's going to happen. So the fast track that I've alluded to is a fast track that continues to contain a fast-moving locomotive that's going to do what it needs to do as it needs to do it. So, again, I'll be meeting with the executive team every 2 weeks, the administrative team every 2 weeks, and that will be also a point that we can make any adjustments that we need to make in terms of anything as well. So, and then I'll be back to speak to the board next month about where we are in the process, and we'll have some, I'm sure, really good news at that time with regards to what we are.
All right, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I want to acknowledge Mr. Ashley Jones for being here, tag teaming with Rich. Thank you, sir, for taking time out to be here with us today. And with that, Dale, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, I don't have anything else. I want to see if any commissioners have anything. We'll go around and start with Commissioner Sullivan. Anything that you would like to relay or comment on?
In the coming weeks, or you can just send a email, Tony, if you could provide a status on how the vouchers are going, whether or not our folks are actually able to find places to live. When I say vouchers, I mean the vouchers that were given out for those leaving Bulleteers. That's all I have.
Will do.
Okay. Commissioner Bolte?
I just want to thank everybody. And Tony, you mentioned several dates of events and activities that are happening. I don't know if that's all in one place. Still not sure if we're getting a newsletter that might have those dates in there. If not, if you could just email us those key dates, then we can add them to our calendar. Thanks.
Mr. Fallon?
I just had a couple of things to add real quickly to Tony's report on the Envision Center and community collaborations. You know, he mentioned the Church of the Highlands and the Generosity Foundation. They've got a bunch of shade tree mechanics and retired engineers and guys that are out there fixing cars and apparently doing a lot of volume of upgrading people's vehicles. And they even have some vehicles to offer to people at reasonable prices, or even to give to people that need transportation to work. And to dovetail with that, the Boys and Girls Club out there in Calvary Hills has hired a driver's education instructor and got a vehicle for driver training. And so far, just in the last couple of months, they've gotten driver's licenses for 11 different residents in the Northwoods area out there at Calvary Hills. So that's a really good collaboration. And then the other thing, we had a meeting last week, it was kind of an impromptu meeting. I was just out at the Boys and Girls Club, and Joe McKenzie from the Generosity Foundation and Patrick Wynn and I came together, and we walked over to the ball fields. There's 3 really nice baseball fields and a football field at the Envision Center side at Calvary Hills. And the Church of the Highlands has these big serve days and volunteers that come out, and Generosity Foundation's got some resources, and they were looking at maybe doing some things to really enhance the ball field and ball fields and hold some special events. There's going to be a kickball tournament that's a major fundraiser for Legacy Center that serves our elderly population, and we're going to hopefully build for a real opening day. The way that thing's structured is that's the Metro League, which serves all the public housing neighborhoods and inner city, and the Boys and Girls Club essentially runs the Metro League. And we've always had great success with soccer and basketball, but baseball has always been a big challenge. So we're going to spruce the park up and plan some special events and do some heavy recruiting to get kids to play baseball and softball. And I think that park can really be a center, a positive, fun, family type center of activity for the neighborhood. So hopefully we can mix it up out there and have some fun and get some people together and see a lot of relationships that are initiated and built off the activities at the park.
Okay. All right. You've heard updates from all the commissioners. I don't think we had any public comments at this time. Did we, Neil, anybody sign up for public comments?
I don't believe so. Felicia, are you aware of any?
No, I'm not.
Okay. All right. So hearing none, if that's all the comments and everything we've needed to present, thank you everybody for our meeting. Looking forward to having a great strategic planning process. There's no question we're in the best hands I think we can possibly be with Mr. Kenny Anderson for this process. So I'm looking forward to the process and the results. And everybody, please stay safe for what we got going on in this world. We still have a pandemic that we're trying to get through. Let's not forget about that. And I hope to see everybody at our next board meeting. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and staff and fellow board members.